if the reason for their unvaccinated status is lack of supply.
Ito ay kontra o lumalaban doon sa batas ng Republic Act 11525 na sinasabi na hindi dapat mandatory ang vaccination dito sa ating bansa.
BELLO said the lack of available vaccines should not be taken against the unvaccinated employee.
Meron tayong yung task force on that point. Merong assigned agency or task force that will determine whether a location has sufficient supply of vaccine and it is available to the worker.
The Labor Department is now requiring that employees who report to work in person must be vaccinated. Otherwise, they will be subjected to the no work, no pay policy. Government will administer 15 million COVID-19 doses over a 3-day vaccination drive for employees this month. But should COVID-19 vaccination be mandatory for workers? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay. Also with us online, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, joining us from Manila. And joining me here in the studio in Mandaluyong, Ed Lingao of One News. Chiefs.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Wednesday. Ano, Ami? Kamusta? Anong headline bukas?
Baka member kayo ng SNR, sabi ng National Privacy Commission. 22,000 card-holding members na attack ng ransomware attack.
But they are also emphasizing that credit card information should be secure. They are clarifying that, although they are saying they are taking this attack very, very seriously. Bok, ano pang ibang na-monitor mo?
Well, mukhang lahat ng presidential candidates na halos gustong magpa-test for drugs or for whatever value there is in the test. Apparently, wala naman.
But one thing interesting there is beyond the candidates, we're learning a lot about drug tests as well.
Which is why ang LTO, tinanggal na rin yung requirement na yun. Di ba for a long time, ang LTO parati may katabihan na drug testing laboratory na usually pag-aari ng taga-LTO rin. So tubong lugaw. Pero it doesn't really tell you anything.
Precisely because they said yung scheduled testing, this is coming from the head of the Dangerous Drugs Board. Kung scheduled test lang din, wala rin daw silbi. Because it's actually, maliit lang parang isang linggo lang yung
actually,
time frame, di ba?
2 to 5 days for, malaki na yung 5 days for amphetamines or shabu and for cocaine. Yun ang window to detect.
We may have to dedicate a session,
Session, wrong word to use.
an episode to that. We'll dedicate an episode to that. But for now, let's talk about labor and whether or not we can and we should be requiring, and what are the problems there if we are to require COVID-19 test and vaccination for our workers. We have with us tonight Secretary Silvestre Bello III of the Department of Labor and Employment. Good evening, Secretary Bello.
Good evening, Ed. Good evening, Ami, and good evening, Robbie.
Sir, and we've had a number of talks on this already. Quickly, let's just update. Nasaan na po ba ang policy ngayon with regards to mandatory testing for people who are reporting for work physically?
Okay, thank you, Ed. Thank you. We would like to put it in the right track, no? Kasi it is not the department that is prescribed that workers on site should be vaccinated to be able to work. Hindi po amin yan. That is a resolution of the Interagency Task Force.
Sir.
And under that resolution, there is one very important condition. Now, the employer can require the worker to undergo vaccination, and if he does not, then he will require the worker to undergo yung PCR test. Now, the condition there is that in that place, there must be a sufficient supply of vaccine. Na vaccine is available to the worker. Kasi hindi mo naman ma-require, very common, common sense na you cannot require somebody to be vaccinated if the vaccine is not available.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, sir. So,
So-
ito po yung tanong ko sa inyo parate, di ba? Parang,
Opo.
kasi kinausap ko rin kayo sa big story eh. Who
Opo.
or what determines availability and access? Pagka sinabi ng IATF, yang sa LGU yan, available ang vaccine. That's a categorical status as far as accessibility is concerned?
Well, under the IATF resolution, there is supposed to be a task force for that purpose to determine the availability of the vaccine in the area where there is that possible application of the rule on vaccination. Mayroon dyan nagdi-determine.
Yes, sir. Sir, yung
Kaya
National
nga, sabi
Vaccines
ko-
Operation Center, sir, yung NVOC, National Vaccines Operation Center.
Yes. Kaya nga, sabi ko nga, pagka merong vaccine at kahit na may vaccine kung hindi available sa worker, then it's a good defense for the worker. Na sabi niya, I want to be vaccinated, pero hindi ko naman, it's not available. So the employer cannot impose on the worker. Because that condition is there na you can only obligate the worker to undergo PCR if he does not want to be vaccinated to be able to go to work if there is a clear showing that the vaccine is available.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, hindi mo mapilit yung worker.
Yes, sir. Sir, basic question lang, sir. Sir, ako si Ed, basic question, very, very basic question, sir. Kasi IATF resolution is, yung nga po, resolution lamang eh. Wala pa siyang force of law, wala rin siyang penal provisions. Kumbaga, hindi pwedeng parusahan kung hindi sumunod yung taong bayan doon sa IATF resolution number 148B. In which case po, baka mauwi sa girian sa pagitan ng employer at employee kung paano i-enforce. Paano ho yun? Wala namang penal provision, wala namang penal clause, at walang enforcement capabilities.
Hindi, kasi, Robbie, under that resolution, yung employer can require the worker to undergo a PCR test
Yes, sir.
kung ayaw niya magpa-vaccine. So, yun ang dyan, yun ang option ng worker. Kung ayaw mo pa-vaccine, we cannot force you. But in order for you to report to work, kailangan magpa-swab
Magpa-testing.
ka.
Pagka-testing,
that's the requirement.
sarili mong bayad. As an employee, ikaw magbabayad. Yun nga po,
Yes, oo.
yun po, I'll go back to that question po eh. Kung sakaling sabihin ng empleyado, ayoko, pwede niyo ba akong pilitin? Ididemanda ko kayo sa NLRC. Ay, paano po yun? Can the employer force the employee gayong wala namang penal clause, yung IATF, wala namang force of law?
Yeah, the employer definitely cannot compel the employee to undergo vaccination. Pero he can prevent the worker from reporting to work unless magpa-PCR siya. Yan. Yun, that's the only option of the employer. O sige, ayaw mo magpa-vaccine, pero para makapasok ka, and in order to avoid the transmission of COVID in the workplaces, i-protect natin yung other workers, you have to undergo a PCR test. Yan, that's a valid requirement to be imposed by the employer.
Secretary, sa katapusan ng buwan, magkakaroon tayo ng national vaccination, 3-day vaccination days. And ang target niyan actually yung mga empleyado na hindi pa covered, no? Mukha namang maraming vaccine dito sa Metro Manila in particular. Saka yung mga nakapaligid na regions na highly industrialized na maraming empleyado. Paano kung yung 3-day vaccination na yan, maraming vaccine, sinabi na ng gobyerno, ayaw pa rin ng empleyado magpa-vaccinate. Ano ang consequences dun sa mga ayaw pa rin?
Well, kagaya sinabi ko, you cannot compel him to undergo vaccination. Pero the employer can require him to undergo a PCR test for him to report. And that's a valid condition that can be imposed by the employer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Para lang ano yan para lang ano yan, Ami for you to come to the office, may uniform requirement, may uniform yan, di ba? So hindi ka mag-uniform, hindi ka pwede pumasok or you will be considered absent, ganon.
Paano
So ganon lang naman. Pero very clear that you cannot terminate the employee because he refuses to be vaccinated.
Paano kung arawan yon? Di wala siyang sweldo. No work,
At
no
talagang hindi siya makakasweldo. Totoo yan. Because no work, no pay.
Saka yung RT-PCR, anong effectivity nun? Kasi ano yun, every week ba siya kailangan magpa-testing to come to work?
I think under the resolution every 2 weeks.
May kamahalan yun, ha?
Kaya the best talaga, magpa-vaccine na lang tayo. If it is available.
Secretary Bello, atras po ako ng konti.
Okay.
Because si Robbie Puto, no, we've been talking
Robbie,
about
yes, Robbie.
we've been talking about yung mga ayaw pa rin, no, as we keep saying, mga ayaw talaga. But have we done surveys? Gaano kalaking problema pa po ba ito sa labor sector natin, sa mga workers natin? Marami pa po ba ang may hesitancy or is it really just a supply and access problem?
Sa tingin ko, Robbie, it is more on the availability of the vaccine. In fairness, hindi na gaano karami ang ating mga workers and even all other citizens na ayaw pa mababaksin. I think if they have realized that vaccine is the best defense against COVID, ang problema lang natin ngayon ay yung availability of the vaccine.
Sir, si Ed to, sir. Sir, klaro naman sinasabi ninyo na hindi pwedeng pilitin ang manggagawa na magpapakuna. Klaro-klaro po yun. They cannot be forced to get vaccinated. They cannot be fired for refusing to be vaccinated. Ang tanong ko po has to do with the other side of things. Kung hindi ka papabakuna, kailangan pang pa-testing ng RT-PCR every other week. Kung ganun po, paano kung ang manggagawa, sabi ng manggagawa na, bago niyong patakaran yan, kayo nag-i-impose yan, ba't ako magbabayad yan? Dapat ang kumpanya magbayad yan. Hindi po ako nagiging sutil. Ang gusto ko lang po malaman, kung ano po, kasi malamang po, yan ang magiging argumento sa pagitan ng employer at ng employee. So kung sino magbabayad ng RT-PCR test, paano po mariresolve yan?
Under the IATF resolution,
Yes, sir.
it should be at the expense of the employee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ayun nga, but what if the employee sues the employer because for example, sabi ng employee na, teka, that was not part of the deal, that was never required before, it's an additional burden on us, so it should be put on the employer. What if that happens? Ano yung legal basis kumbaga?
Well, the legal basis, there is the resolution that requires the employee who refuses to be vaccinated to be able to go to work must undergo a PCR test. Nandyan yun sa resolution ng IATF.
Secretary, medyo mag-digress ako ng konti kasi yung mga employers, meron din sila ngayong recommendation na yung natitira daw na vaccine doses nila, kung pwede daw bang gamitin na for the boosters kasi nagwe-weigh na yung efficacy di ba?
Pwede naman.
Are you supporting that? Yung DOLE is supporting this?
Yes, I do. It's the only practical thing to do. Kung available yung vaccine, it can be used for booster.
Doon sa empleyado ng employer.
Yes.
Sinasabi ng gobyerno, bigyan niyo muna sa amin kasi kulang pa tayo.
Hindi. That was before. Pero ngayon, mukha naman dumarating na yung supply. Dumarating na ang supply.
Okay na pala yun.
Okay naman po.
Okay. Okay.
What about ito pong vaccine drive, not just for workers, but you have said that there is going to be that drive November 29 to December 1. This is also a nationwide and national government effort. Ano po ba nga asahan natin dito? Is it something na, is there anything different to how workers in particular can anticipate this rollout and how they can line up for it?
Well, actually, Robbie, this program is to really parang dramatize the value of vaccination. And Actually, kami nga, naka-kanya-kanyang assignment kami. Like for example, in my case, I'm supposed to do the supervision of the vaccination in Region 2, being the court in Region 2. So, unang responsibility ko is the availability of the vaccine. So, yun ang maganda dyan. We are making available all vaccines that are already in our country. And mukhang marami-rami na. Dito sa NCR, hindi masyado dahil fully vaccinated na yata lahat eh. Oo, that is the latest information. It's more on the regions na ngayon ang concentration na ma-vaccinate na lahat yung ating mga kababayan, lalong-lalo na yung mga manggagawa. Para sa ganoon ay kikilos ng kikilos yung ating economic activities without danger of the transmission of the COVID in the workplaces.
Sir, yung malaking ang porsyento ng bakunado na ay nasa Metro Manila. Gaya po ng sinabi niyo,
Yes.
I'm one in lamang po. Kasi for example, ang Calabarzon, napakalaki po ng workforce dun sa Calabarzon. I don't remember exactly how many million, pero ang daming pabrika kasi dun eh. I'm wondering po if we have any idea kung gaano karami dun ang bakunado na and kamusta yung supply ng bakuna dun. Kasi po, baka sakaling yun ang maging next target dapat ng bakunahan.
I only have an estimate, Ed. But mukhang marami rin ang supply ng vaccine in Calabarzon. Kasi alam mo, ang Calabarzon is not that far from NCR. In fact, may overlapping of jurisdiction kung minsan eh. So, I am quite sure na yung supply in the Calabarzon is okay.
In which case, doon may implement o may enforce ng mas matindi, yung no bakuna, no work policy. Kasi
Yes,
kung
yeah.
supply is
Anyway,
sufficient.
Anywhere yan, Ed, anywhere that has to be applied equally ang application yan.
Secretary, yung unemployment rate, umakyat na naman noong September from August, no? Malaki-laki yung nadagdag. And sabi ng DTI, chinecheck nila, marami daw na mga businesses na talagang shutdown na, kaya hindi nila inaasahan na medyo hindi significant masyado yung pag-akyat ng employment sa pagbubukas natin ng economy. Do you have an update na on the unemployment rate ngayong nagre-reopen na yung mga negosyo?
Bumababa yung unemployment rate and our employment rate is increasing. In fact, the latest figure as of 2 days ago, because I'm out of Metro Manila right now, I'm in Region 5. My latest information is that we had an increase of 900,000 workers going back to work. So, tumataas na. Opo.
Kailan po yon yung additional na yun?
That's about 2 days ago. That is the information I got from Assistant Secretary Nikki of our Bureau of Local Employment.
O yan yung alert level 2, nung nag-alert level 2.
Opo, dyan nga, tumaas ng husto. Dahil alam mo naman, like for example, doon na lang sa hotel. Grabe, ang increase ng employment dyan dahil nagbalikan na yung mga workers in the hotel industry, including restaurant and transportation. Talagang tumaas ang operation ng mga economic activities, and this brought about the re-entry of our workers.
Secretary, that really sounds like good news. Hopefully, dire-diretso na to. But remind us din, gaano kalayo pa yung hahabulin natin to pre-pandemic levels? You mentioned 900,000 ang naidagdag, pero from the time na nag-umpisa yung pandemya, ilan ang nawala? Gaano karami pa ang hinahabol natin? And which sectors in particular ang, just to manage expectations, which sectors in particular ang medyo matatagalan pa, may konting antay pa?
Unang-una, yung malaki-laki ang nawala sa atin noon. Umabot tayo ng over 4 million ang nawalan ng trabaho. Pero kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, bumabalik na tayo. Hopefully, the more we loosen the protocols, the more economic activities we are expecting, and the more economic activities coming in, the more employment opportunities will come about. So yun ang inaasahan namin na from alert level 2, mukhang bumababa na tayong alert level 1, especially in Metro Manila. And this will bring about talagang matinding pagbabalik ng mga economic activities. And I hope na this will bring about more employment openings, especially in the construction, transportation, and the hotel as well as the restaurant industries. Sana na tuloy-tuloy na yan para sa ganon ay makabawi-bawi tayo ng konti.
Secretary, meron namang report na dumadami daw yung tao na nasanay na ng work from home, nagninegosyo na, at ayaw na daw bumalik sa trabaho. Do you have studies on this kung ganong, is this good for the economy?
Medyo choppy ang dating nyo.
Ang ano daw, marami daw na ayaw nang bumalik sa employment at nagninegosyo na lang sa bahay, work from home, meron na silang mga online businesses. And yun ang sabi ng ibang employer, na hindi na daw nila nakukuha yung mga dati nilang workers. Are you keeping track of this development? Saka, you think this is good for the economy?
Well, definitely we are keeping track of this. This is the responsibility of the BLE, the Bureau of Local Employment, and it is a very good development because going into business is also a job generation. So the moment yung worker mo, ayaw na niya magtrabaho, magnegosyo na lang, when he goes to business, it's possible that he's creating job opportunity.
Pero sir, sundutin ko lang yan because we were tracking that news hindi lang po dito. Apparently, it's a global phenomenon, di ba? They're calling it the Great Resignation. A lot of employees in North America and Europe, many continents, resigning just because they feel like either they can or they need rest or whatever, but they're not retrenched, they're not laid off, they're not fired, they're resigning. Are you saying that we're seeing that phenomenon here as well?
It's really happening. It's really happening. Na may mga workers now opt to do business if given the opportunity. I think they would opt to be businessman or engage in even small-time business rather than go back to employment where, the security there is not insured.
So, susuportahan din dyan ng gobyerno, yung mga micro yan.
Oo, dapat. Oo, it should get the support of government. Kasi ang ating ekonomiya, depends so much on our micro and small business enterprises. Oo. Diyan ang nakatutok ang galaw ng ating ekonomiya, yung mga micro and small.
Sir, may iba ko ng konti. Konting politika naman. Everybody is expecting you to file your COC for senator. Instead, ang nag-file Silvestre Estring Bello Jr. Ng PDP Laban. Medyo naglunok kami dun eh. Hindi naman nyo kamuka. Paano po ba yan?
Ang mukha ko naman yun. Kaya lang matanda na.
Hindi sa akin galing yun. So and then people were expecting you to baka substitute come November 15, which also did not happen. So what exactly happened there?
Well, frankly, Ed, I had really some plans of running. But then with the development in our economy, and looking, seeing our workers, both the formal and informal workers, including the overseas workers, needing immediate attention and assistance, I opted to concentrate in helping and implementing our amelioration program for all our workers rather than go to politics. Baka the politics can come later. Ang importante ngayon yung kailangan ng ating mga kababayan, lalo-lalo yung ating mga employees in the private and in the public sector, especially those in the informal sector. Kailangan tulong natin. Kaya hindi ko naman sinasabi na I'm the only one who can do it, but at least I must give my share in helping our fellow men in this time of crisis.
Pero sir, no longer as a candidate, but as somebody who was thinking as a potential candidate. Ano sana ang gusto niyong isulong? I mean, what particular reforms for the labor sector would you have wanted to put forth? And now, no longer as a candidate that you would want other candidates to pursue?
Unang-una, yung endo bill. Naudlot yun sayang. It was passed in Congress. It was supposed to secure the tenure, the security of tenure of our workers. It was supposed to be signed by the president. But unfortunately, I do not know why, labor protested against it. And that prevented the president from signing. Sabi niya, bakit ko pipirman? Ayaw ng mga workers. And this bill is for them. So if I would have been given the chance, that would be my number one priority, to have this bill finally passed in order to help ensure yung constitutional right of our workers to a security of tenure.
Pero sir,
Sabi ng mga workers, watered down daw yung measure. Yun ang
Yun nga, bakit hindi nila sinabi yan nung nasa Congress? But hindi in-advocate yan when it was in the Senate. Para sana naayos yun. Nung pinasa ng Senado, went to the President, pipirma na ng Presidente, sabi niya, ayaw namin yan. If you were the President, would you have signed the bill? So sabi niya, pag-aralan niyo ang buti. Which we did, and then filed it again before Congress. Hopefully this time, somebody will sponsor it to its final approval.
sir, in which case, what would you have wanted to change or amend in that bill that was almost signed by the president? Or would you want to pursue the same bill all over again?
Actually, okay naman yung bill na yun I don't really know why the labor group, hindi naman lahat pero kaya lang nagmarcha-marcha, nagprotesta. Siyempre kung ikaw ang approving authority, magdadalawang isip ka. You are supposed to approve a bill for their benefit, and yet the people who are supposed to be the beneficiaries are objecting to it. So you have no recourse but to have it go back to Congress for possible amendments.
Pero sir, kung ganun, kung okay na po sa inyo yung panukalang yun for signing, but hindi pa tinuloy ng Pangulo. Kaysa sa ibabalik ulit sa Kongreso tapos pareho naman ilalabas. I mean, if the bill in that present form was already good to go for the President and for the Labor Department, then why would you want to go to it all over again?
Kasi binalik ng ating Presidente.
Opo.
They send it back to Congress for further study and address the issues raised by the labor group. Kasi he was supposed to sign it, ayaw naman nila. So you have no other option but to have it reviewed and come up with a new version that will be acceptable to the beneficiaries.
Pero ikaw, Secretary, you don't think it was watered down?
Hindi naman, okay naman Okay naman. I don't know kung anong objection nila doon. Nandun naman yung provision that will secure their tenure as workers. Yun ang malaga Yung security of tenure
Okay. Labor Secretary Silvestro BELLO III of the Department of Labor. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Sir, hindi string Hindi string bell.
Apo. Hindi po tumatakbo bilang senador Hindi. Labor Secretary. Maraming salamat po.
Ingat, sir.
Thank you, and thank you, Robbie, and thank you, Ami. Magandang gabi po.
And we'll take a break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to the Chiefs here on One News, and with us now is Nagkaisa Labor Coalition Chairperson and Senatorial Candidate Attorney Sunny Matula. Sir, magandang gabi at thank you for joining us.
Ay, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Magandang gabi po.
Yes, sir. Sir, unahin ko po siyempre yung pinaka-urgent ngayon dahil next week na ito. Magsisimula sa December 1 na raw yung no bakuna, no work policy. Pwede ka magtrabaho pa rin pero kailangan magpa-test ka twice, every other week na sarili mong gastos kung ikaw ay empleyado. Anong pananaw niyo doon? Kasi kausap namin si Secretary Bello, mukhang pangatawan nila yon.
Napakabigat yun para sa mga manggagawa, lalo na sa mga minimum wage earner, ano? Kung magkano ba ngayong testing? 3,000 to
mga 5,000 sa yung RT-PCR.
Meron yung pinakamura. 1,800.
Naging pulubi na ang mga manggagawa niyan o may utang pa. Kung magtatrabaho ng mga manggagawa, palagay ko unreasonable yun sa kasalukuyan kasi ilang milyon pa lang ba ang nabakunahan? Mga 30 million pa ang fully vaccinated. Marami pang mga manggagawa ang hindi nabakunahan. Although sabi nila marami na nga yung supply ng bakuna. Pero yung delivery ay napakahirap at marami pang hindi naabot.
Pero sir, is it just about cost and affordability or fundamentally do you have anything against requiring the vaccination?
Sa kasalukuyan, ang ating batas ay compulsory. Voluntary. Voluntary ang kasalukuyang batas. Ang kanilang ginagawa ngayon ay parang compulsory na yung bakuna. Although ang batas ay sinasabi na voluntary. Kaya sa palagay ko, ang ginagawang ng ating gobyerno ay salungat doon sa sinasabi ng batas at palagay ko ay hindi tama at unreasonable ito, lalong-lalo na marami pang mga manggagawa ng ang hindi nabakunahan.
Pero Mr. Matula, sinusuportahan ng DOLE yan Sabi, it's within the employer's right daw, lalo na yung for in-person workers. So anong option nyo kung ganyang matutuloy nga yan? Saka i-implement lang naman daw nila sa mga lugar na mataas na yung maraming vaccines, enough vaccines for workers to get it. Anong option nyo kapag natuloy yan at ayaw pa rin ng mga workers na magpabakuna?
Kung may epekto na ito at may tamaan na ng mga manggagawa, siyempre pwedeng questionin ng naapektuhang manggagawa yung legality ng resolusyon na ito. Sapagkat hindi naman pwede yung resolusyon ng executive branch of the government na mas mataas doon sa batas na ginagawa ng Kongreso. So palagay namin ay ito ay labag sa batas at kung labag ito sa batas ay pwedeng questionin ng sino mang naapektuhan na manggagawa.
Sir, total...
magkakaroon ng legal challenge. Most likely, magkakaroon ng legal challenge yan.
Yun po ang opsyon ng kilusang paggawa.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, anyway, sir...
Policy at may person affected ay pwedeng questionin ang anumang ginagawa ng gobyerno.
Yes, sir. Well, tama-tama sir kasi abogado po kayo. Pero ito nga po kasi parang nakahanap ng loophole itong DOLE. Ang sabi ng DOLE, hindi naman daw pinipilit ang bakuna. Hindi naman daw tatanggalan ng trabaho yung taong ayaw magpabakuna.
Sweldo lang.
Pero i-require ng employer na magpa-testing ka kung wala kang bakuna. Pero ikaw rin magbabayad. In which case po, parang may loophole sila nakita. Hindi ipipilit ang bakuna pero ipipilit ang testing.
O parang sinabihan mo ako sa harapan na hindi kita susuntukin pero binabatukan mo ako sa likod. So, palagay ko ay iniikutan lang nila yung batas na hindi compulsory ang vaccination. Dapat titingnan din natin bakit hindi compulsory. Sapagkat sinasabi mismo ng batas na experimental stage pa itong mga bakuna natin. At maaring may epekto ito sa kalusugan din ng ating mga kababayan. Pero kami naman sa kilusang paggawa ay ini-encourage namin yung aming mga miyembro na magpabakuna. Pero may mga objection dito. Halimbawa, naniniwala sila na ito ay masama ang epekto sa kanila o may mga religious objector. Napaka-importante din na respetuhin natin yung mga paniniwala ng ibang tao.
Okay. Attorney, yung sinabi rin po ni Secretary Bello, ang isang mahalagang premise dito is kailangan alam natin na may supply at saka may access, no? Particularly where you work. Pero ang tanong ko nga po, I don't know if you'll agree with me, with the way things work or don't work in the Philippines, kahit pa sabihin, kahit pa nandun yung supply, at kahit pa sabihin ng gobyerno na, ayan, nasa kategorya ang LGU mo na mayroong supply, a lot of things can still go wrong in terms of trying to get an appointment, getting, and for whatever reason, a lot of things can still go wrong in trying to get even a slot to get there. What other things can you anticipate that could go wrong and that could lead to a lot of confusion between employees and employers, even those who want to comply?
Oo, tama ka, kasama ang
Robbie po.
Robbie, tama ka. Kasi ako, gustong-gusto ko magpabakuna eh. Pero sa kasawiang pala, nag-apply ako sa Quezon City, hindi ako natawag. Dito sa Binyang Laguna, nag-apply ako, hindi ako natawag. Tinawag na ako noong October 26 lang para sa first dose. Mabuti na lamang may isang kompanya na nag-o-offer ng bakuna para sa mga marino na pinapadala nila abroad at allowed naman sila. So doon ako nabakunahan ng anti-COVID vaccine, ano? At natapos yan nung 2 weeks ago lang. Pero nagsikap ako na mabakunahan pero matagal talaga at mahirap na mahaba ang pila din sa iba. Kaninang umaga nandun ako sa Bulacan, sa may Kalumpit, ano? Dahil binisita natin yung ating union sa Kalumpit. At nakita natin na yung mga tao doon, first dose pa sila nung araw. Kanina umaga lang yung first dose nila. So, yung practical na konsiderasyon, yung access ay dapat kinukonsidera ng ating gobyerno. At siyempre, yung kapasidad ng ating mga manggagawa na marami pa ang hindi nabakunahan. Kaya sinusuportahan namin yung national campaign ng gobyerno, although hindi kami kinonsulta noon, pero sinusuportahan namin campaign na sa panawagan na dapat ang mga manggagawa at ang mga mamayang Pilipino ay mabakunahan.
Mr. Matula, yung sinasabi ng mga employers, I'm just wondering kung you agree with them. Ang sabi nila, kaya nagre-require sila ng vaccination, it's not only to protect the workers na vaccinated na at nagtatrabaho on-site, kundi poproteksyonan din daw yung worker dahil high risk daw yung mga unvaccinated na ma-infeksyon. And they're citing what's happening sa ibang bansa ngayon. It's a new pandemic yung mga nag-experience ngayon ng 4th wave ng pandemic. It's a pandemic daw of the unvaccinated. In principle, naniniwala din kayo na tama rin naman sila?
Naniniwala ko na dapat talaga magpabakuna eh. Kasi science naman nagsasabi na mas protektado ang mga tao na may bakuna kaysa wala. Ano? Pero may mga tao tayo na naniniwala dahil may religious belief sila na ang magpabakuna ay taliwas sa kanilang paniniwala. Sa palagay ko ay respetuhin natin yon kasi mas sa karapatan ng mga tao, pinakahayos ang priority na yung religious belief. So sa ating constitutional system ay malaki ang respeto dyan ng ating Korte Suprema sa mga desisyon nila. At sa mga jurisprudence ay nirespeto yan yung mga religious objector. No? Although halimbawa yung serbisyo sa militar ay pwedeng compulsory, kung may religious objection ka, ay pwede ka namang bigyan ng ibang trabaho kaysa military service. Ano? Dito sa bakuna naman sa palagay ko ay dapat respetuhin din yan kasi itong bakuna nga ay experimental stage pa lamang. At maski bakunado ka, ay pwede ka rin magdadala ng virus na ito. No? Hindi yan hindi yan yung immunity na hindi ka o yung konsepto na kapag nabakuna ka bakunado ka na hindi ka magdadala ng virus ay wala pang scientific proof na ganoon. Kaya maski bakunado ka ay maaari ka pa rin magdadala ng virus.
Okay.
Pero kung public health and public lives are at stake, hindi ba, will that not trump yung right, yung religious rights na yan? Yan ang sinasabi din ng mga employers. Kasi meron ng there are scientific studies showing na the vaccines work. Di ba? Hindi naman, tama rin naman sila. Saka nakikita natin, experience all around the world. Kahit dito sa Maynila, bumagsak na yung ating infection. Simula nung tumaas yung vaccination. So, meron naman siguro kahit pa paano correlation yan, di ba?
Meron naman, no? Meron naman. Pero sa palagay ko, yung minority na ayaw magpabakuna, dapat siguro kinakailangan kumbinsihin o bibigyan ng mga insentiba, no? Yung incentive is mas maganda yon para sa compliance kaysa ipapanis mo siya o gugutumin mo siya dahil hindi siya nagpabakuna.
Attorney Matula, maliban na po sa bakuna, we wanna talk about yung mga workers din natin in general, lalo na ngayon na nagbubukas ng ekonomiya. Kausap namin kanina si Labor Secretary BELLO, sabi niya as we reopen, we're seeing about 900,000 jobs coming back, although sabi niya nga, that's only about a quarter of the way. So given that we have about 4 million jobs that we lost since the start of the pandemic. Ngayon po bumubukas na, nagta-traffic na, siksikan na naman sa mga bus, pila na naman para sa mga jeep. Ano-ano po ba ang dinadaanan ng mga workers natin that our leaders also have to understand? And for that matter, that the employers also have to understand about reopening and what that means para po sa mga trabahante natin.
Kami po sa trade union ay walang objection na magbubukas ang ekonomiya. Ang amin lang sinasabi ay dapat kung babalik sa trabaho yung mga manggagawa ay dapat babalik na ligtas yung kanilang babalik. Ang ibig sabihin niyan ay yung ating transportasyon ay sana maayos na. Maayos na. At siyempre sa transportasyon mahirap talaga pa ngayon kasi limitado yung pagsakay. Halimbawa, doble nga ang pamasahe ng ating mga manggagawa kasi dahil sa distancing na ino-observe. At kung magpatuloy sana yung mga contract of service na para sa mga public transport natin ay makakatulong yan sa ating mga manggagawa. May iba ay nag-o-offer ng libreng sakay nga, no? May mga grupo tayo nag-o-offer niyan. Makakatulong yan kung i-subsidize nga yung LRT natin at siyempre padamihin yung mga bagon nito ay nakakatulong yan para sa mga manggagawa natin.
Maliban po sa transportation and mobility, meron pa po bang mga pangangailangan na lumalabas ngayon na baka nakakaligtaan natin?
Yung hindi ko alam yung supply sabi nila ng bakuna ay marami na, no? Pero may mga manggagawa tayo lalo na dito sa may probinsya ng Batangas at Laguna na naghahanap pa ng pagkakataon na mabakunahan sila. Although yung Department of Labor and Employment ay may mga communication na sa mga union lately na kung hindi pa sila nabakunahan ay pwede silang pumunta dito mismo sa Department of Labor sa Central Office ay may mga ino-offer na sila. So dapat yung mga ganong mga communication ay pakalat natin sa marami pang mga manggagawa kasi marami pang mga manggagawa talaga ang hindi nabakunahan at gusto magpabakuna.
Nabanggit nyo kanina, Mr. Matula, mas maganda kung incentivize yung pagpapabakuna. Can you be more specific? May naiisip ba kayo na magandang incentive para mawala yung vaccine hesitancy ng mga workers?
Pwede mo bigyan ng free load sa cellphone, Pwedeng discount sa pagpagasolina o pagbili ng mga gasolina o pagbili ng mga pangangailangan sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan, siyempre. So may mga incentive na ganyan, palagay ko, maraming mga tao natin na maski hisitan sila, ay pwede silang makumbinsi. Halimbawa, ang bibili ng ganitong item ay may 10% discount sila o 5% discount. Maganda yun.
Meron na mga ganyan. Even gasoline. Meron
Oh.
ng ganyan. Grocery.
Pero hindi ata na widespread ang knowledge tungkol dyan. So may kulang sa information dissemination.
Sir,
Yan ang
Sir, ang argumento kasi kanina ni Secretary Bello doon sa Resolution 148B, ano raw, may karapatan daw yung mga employer na i-impose yung mandatory COVID-19 testing ng RT-PCR dahil para daw yung para yung uniforme na pwedeng i-require doon sa mga empleyado. Kung tama-tanda ko, di ba? May ganun eh. I don't know, what do you say? Meron bang ganong karapatan ng employers to impose this?
Maiba siguro yan sa uniforme kasi sinasaksak mo sa katawan mo yung medisina eh. So iba yan sa panglabas lamang, okay lang siguro sa panlabas yan, pero yung maapektuhan yung body, yung kalusugan. So palagay ko ay iba dapat ang treatment diyan. At siyempre, ginawa mong compulsory. Pero sinasabi ng batas, hindi nga compulsory eh.
Yes, sir.
So,
Sir, ang argumento po niya kasi is pwedeng gawing compulsory ng employer yung pagsusot ng uniforme sa empleyado. So yun ang ginagawa niyang parallel. Therefore, pwede rin gawing compulsory ng employer ang pagpapa-RT-PCR testing.
So, siguro naman, may discretion naman yung kumpanya. No? May discretion yung kumpanya. Pero yung discretion ng kumpanya, una-una, dapat yung discretion na yon ay hindi lalabag sa batas, una-una. Pero ang pinaka-practical na konsiderasyon ay dapat hindi unreasonable. Hindi unreasonable. So, palagay ko kung batas ang titingnan, ang batas talaga nagsasabi hindi compulsory. Kung reasonableness naman, marami pang mga manggagawa ang hindi nabakunahan. At ang iba ay wala pang access doon sa bakuna dahil malayo sila o hindi sila na paprioritize pa. So ako nga, sabi ko, nag-apply ako napalista na ako na mabakunahan noon pang Mayo. Pero tinawag ako dito sa amin sa Binyan noong October 26 para sa first dose. So malayo, October eh. Ngayon, ang ibang mga manggagawa, first dose pa. So paano hindi pa sila fully vaccinated? So December 1 na. Unreasonable naman masyado yung deadlines at yung access. So palagay ko ay kung may maapektuhan ng mga manggagawa at may tawag noon ay mayroong personally affected, mayroon ng actual controversy. So kung may actual controversy ay pwedeng questionin ng manggagawa ang anumang polisiya ng gobyerno na sa palagay nila ay labag sa batas o labag sa konstitusyon natin. So may mga manggagawa na pumunta sa amin, sabi namin sa kanila, sa kasalukuyan ay hindi pa natin ma-file yan. Kasi hindi pa naman kayo naapektuhan eh. Mga pronouncement pa yan ng gobyerno. Pero kung maapektuhan na kayo, ay pwede na nating dalhin yan sa regional trial court kung ito ba ay labag sa batas. O kung pwede rin natin, siyempre, may mga proseso tayo sa labor relations, pwede nating i-grievance yan sa pamagitan ng ating proseso sa collective bargaining negotiation. Pwede nating voluntary arbitration yan kung palagay nyo talaga ay tinamaan kayo at palagay na-discriminate kayo, ay pwedeng questionin sa proseso niyan. Pero may isa ring opportunity na pwede nating idiretso sa korte, pwede sa RTC siguro o sa Korte Suprema kung legality o kung nag-involve ito ng constitutional issue.
Attorney Matula, balikan ko lang po yung kaninang nabanggit ni Secretary Bello, 900,000 jobs bumalik na raw, nakikita nila. Hopefully talaga, magandang senyales to. But at the same time, yung malalaking numero na yan, hindi natin alam kung ano yung what people are actually going through or feeling on the ground. Una-una, daman niyo po ba yan, yung pagbalik ng mga trabaho? At pangalawa, is there anything to qualify or na kailangan maintindihan on a more specific level dyan sa malaking numero na yan? Meron po ba tayong hindi nakikita na kailangan pag-isipan pa rin kahit pa bumabalik yung mga trabaho na yan?
At least sa organized labor, naging normal na ang karamihan na kung saan kami may union, yung pagbabalik ng mga manggagawa sa trabaho. Yung mga union namin na nagsara yung kanilang kumpanya, siyempre, hindi na nakabalik yun, nagsara na eh. So hanggang ngayon, marami sa kanila ang walang trabaho at nangangailangan talaga ng ayuda. So halimbawa, may union kami na may kasapian kami na 150 workers dyan sa Binangunan, Rizal. Hanggang ngayon, sarado yung kumpanya nila. Hindi na nag-ooperate. Although may nagsasabi na nilipat lang daw. So, pero wala kami ebidensya. So, kaya sabi ko sa mga manggagawa, maghanap muna kayo ng ebidensya na nilipat lang. No? So, may isa ditong garments factory na may about 1,500 na manggagawa na nagsara noong kataasan ng pandemya at siyempre yung mga manggagawa nag-file ng kaso sa NLRC. So pero yung kumpanya nila sarado na. Siguro kung yung ating gobyerno ay hindi umangkat ng mga face mask sa China at dito na pinagawa, yung mga manggagawa na yung palagay ko ay hindi nawalan ng trabaho. So yun ang aming lamentation sa gobyerno na inuna pa yung
may percentage ba kayo, kahit rough estimate percentage ng mga workers na hindi na makabalik dahil nagsara na yung mga kumpanya nila, hindi na makabalik sa trabaho at this point?
Sa FFW, sa mga kasapi namin siguro may mga 500 na mga manggagawa na nagsara na yung kumpanya. Yung iba nabayaran naman, yung iba ay nagkakaso pa kami hanggang ngayon.
Nagkakaso.
Okay. Attorney Sunny Matula. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong palatuntunan. Maraming salamat sa the Chiefs.
Ingat, sir.
Maraming ingat po. Maraming salamat po. Si Attorney Matula, of course, is chairperson ng Nagkaisa Labor Coalition at tumatakbo po sa pagka-senador. Maraming salamat po. Ingat po kayo.
Magandang gabi po. Maraming salamat.
That's all for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to everyone, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.